You're here. It worked.
Yay, it worked. And I got my beverage.
That's good. I have a beverage too. It's not the beverage. It's
It's
a
not done.
beverage.
Okay.
It just, the timing didn't work out.
No, for me neither. I have some, but not that much.
Okay, well, hey everybody. It's been a week. It's been a week. It's been a week of urine therapy appreciation. Sibel and I have been conducting together on different sides of the globe. And maybe we should start by introducing ourselves. Sibel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. My name is Sibel, and I'm living in the Netherlands. And I'm at this moment very distracted because I hear our conversation of a few seconds ago while I'm still talking. So this is,
Oh, you're getting an echo?
yeah. Um, do you hear that too?
I don't. I mean, I can sort of hear it on your side, but I don't hear an echo
Yeah,
on my side.
thanks. Maybe if I turn my volume down. Okay, so
Okay.
my name is Sibel. I live in the Netherlands, and Claire and I met through a course. And in that course, you mentioned urine therapy, and I was like, what? Don't talk about that. And yet I found myself within a day or two, I think, just tasting because I was too curious. Um, and that is where my journey started. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It just started this whole week as well. But let's talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was just a spontaneous collaboration because Sibel and I, like you said, we met through a different community, seemingly unrelated, but everything is really related. And we kind of started working together and we became friends and we just have a sort of, I don't know, antic uh, uh, dynamic between us where we kind of egg each other on to have more fun. That's what it feels like. So we came up with this idea because we both practice urine therapy, and this week started just from a fun place for us, and also because of your experience with like a viral video that you did. Wasn't that right,
Yeah,
Sibel?
yeah,
Can you
yeah.
talk about that?
I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm just a person that feels like, okay, this is something for me, and I just go for it. And while I'm going, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? So there was this moment that I felt maybe I should make a video on urine therapy because I don't think people know what kind of benefits there are to urine therapy. And I made a video and that went viral. And oh, yeah, like I think 95 or even more percent of the comments were full of disgust and um, yeah, just negative and unknowing, like the not knowing of the
Yeah,
urine,
ignorance, really.
ignorance, yeah.
Yeah.
But also I cannot think of the English word, like having an opinion about it, a negative opinion. And I was sharing that with you, and I felt like, oh, wait, but this is also an opportunity to share the information. And what if I can make a week out of this? And what if we can do it together and share our experience and our knowledge? So, yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah. And and I mean, there's definitely like the personal side of this journey for both of us, like what has gone on this week
Yeah,
and what we've received from it. And then there's also, like sort of my teacher side, the side of me that, is always looking to help people grow, to share information, to, without imposing anything, but just like, hey, did you know about this? was
Yeah.
like, this is an amazing way to break through taboos and break through really tough programming and conditioning
Yeah.
around self-loathing and self-disgust, that in my feeling is that that is external programming that is imposed on us, and it's very limiting, and sometimes you need something shocking,
Yeah.
something like radical to break through people's programming. It's not like saying, hey, everybody has to drink their pee. That's never
No.
been, I mean,
No.
I've never ever felt that way. And that's certainly not what our aim was in doing this week. It's really been about, poking the bear, poking this part of us that, hey, Mark, that is like, oh, that's gross, and
Yeah.
judgmental of things, judgmental of other people, when in fact most of the people who are judgmental don't know anything about it. They're just exposing their ignorance in the moment, and sometimes being unnecessarily nasty or hurtful.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
okay. We're big girls and we can handle that, no problem. But yeah, so I mean, I think it was kind of like, for me anyway, there was, my desire to share things that have helped me, things that have transformed my life, my desire to break through really hard shell of conditioning and the way that people see themselves, which is so poor.
Yeah.
And, the curiosity that I had about like a personal adventure in what happens if I, share this with the wider world, and instead of just keeping it to myself, because I've been practicing this for years. Right. So
Yeah.
that was kind of how I jumped in. And when
Yeah.
Sibel was like, let's do it.
Also totally ignorant. I was just like, okay, let's go. And then, well, as I said, while we were going, I was like, okay, are we really doing this? Can I go back, please? I don't like this. Yeah, but it was fun though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe we can share a little bit about as some people are joining. Hey, everybody! Super
Hi.
excited to have all of you here. Yeah, and anybody who's watching now, anyone who's joining now. Hey, Anthony, and anybody who watches this after the fact. We can maybe share a little bit. I think, Sibel, you shared a little bit about how your practice started. Maybe I'll share a little bit about how mine started. Quite similarly, I mean, I learned about this in a advanced yogic training, advanced spiritual training, because it's a very ancient tradition that has been in one form or another practiced through ancient cultures for thousands of years. It's not some new weird trend, So yeah, and my first reaction when I heard about it was, oh, I know that this is real. When I was hearing about it from a powerful teacher and it was going to be included in a week of training, we were, encouraged to practice this for a week of training. And there was the part of me that was like, I know instantly that this is real and true. Like the
Yeah.
intuitive part of me was like, I get this. Then there was the other part of me that was like, ugh, I don't know if I can do it,
Yeah.
And like literally the next, at 4 a.m. the next morning on Wake Up, that was our instruction was, well, go for it. It wasn't any like soft entry. I didn't know how to
Just
go
go.
about the practice. It was just like jump into the deep end of the pool. And I'm telling you, I took one sip and I was like, oh, I mean, it totally grossed me out. I had no context for it. I had no, and that was many years ago, and I was in a place of, I was right in the thick of it with my spiritual training and all of that, dealing with a lot of negative emotions and, internal spiritual toxicity, I guess we could say. And so, I could not handle it at the time. And so I kind of filed it away under really interesting, wish I could do it, don't feel like I can, but it always stayed in the back of my mind. And then years later, some friends of mine, people I really respect, were practicing, and they were like, well, give it another try. And they helped me get into it more gradually.
Mhm.
And that was when I started again. So, it has taken me years to overcome that feeling of loathing that I had at the beginning.
Mhm.
And once I started really practicing urine therapy, because then I had like the not a download. I had the inner voice, the inner voice like inside my chest was like, drink your pee one day when I was in a really bad place. And I had been sort of practicing just with using it on my skin. And, you know, for a couple of years, I had been dabbling in it in one way, or mainly when I was fasting and cleansing and stuff like that. But this was like, do it now. And that's when I really started my in earnest practice. And it saved me. It saved me in a really dark moment. And from that moment on, I haven't stopped. I have not stopped. And I learned retrospectively, I felt deeply that the reaction that I had had previously and my inability to jump into the practice was really a reflection of the unhealed self-loathing that I was still experiencing, that I couldn't look at, you know. The practice actually helped me really heal from that feeling of self-rejection, you know. And I that was such an unexpected benefit. I didn't go in having any inkling of that. So that's how powerful it has been for me. And that doesn't mean that I think everybody should drink their urine. It doesn't mean that I have any interest in imposing it on anybody else, but I do want to share about it because I find, and I think you've experienced this too, Sibel, like if you talk about it, there are some people who are going to be like, oh, you're crazy, gross, blah, blah. Okay, can't help them. No problem. That's okay. But there are people who will be like, you know, and then there are some people who are like, I need to do that. And they go straight to the bathroom and drink their pee. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from somebody. Like, I heard your interview with so-and-so. I heard your podcast with so-and-so. And I just went right in. I know this is the right thing for me. And they just started to practice that way. So it's totally intuitive. And you know, the last thing I'll say is I am totally into stretching out into a new feeling of I am totally okay. I don't have a problem with myself anymore. And that's the way it is now. And so I'm going to share what I feel is valuable to share with other people, and they can feel however they want to feel about it. And that's fine. And I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be myself. That is the commitment that I have made to myself. So it doesn't really ultimately, at the end of the day, matter what anybody else thinks, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And if I can just jump in with my story to add on into yours, is because it's okay. Let me just start. I started a few weeks ago. I think 7 or 8 weeks ago with my Instagram account. And I was like, okay, I've never done this. I don't know how this thing works, this whole platform. And let's see. But the thing that I really wanted to do was to make sure it was my place. And I didn't want to hide any parts of myself in my space. So that was also one of the reasons that I felt, okay, I have to make this video about urine therapy because this is something I practice and I really found valuable to do. And it's really helping me to love myself on a deeper level, as you shared as well. So it doesn't feel right to hide that from Instagram. If people want to be in my space, this is part of me and part of my journey, and I want to be able to share about that. And yes, there will be people that don't understand, and there will be people that are curious, and there will be people that already do it and resonate with it, and all is good. But I want to be able to talk about it. So when you talk about it during the course that we did, there were so many thoughts of not doing it, that it was crazy, and yet there was this whisper also inside of my chest, like, oh yes, I can do it again. Yes, finally, in this life as well. So there was a remembrance of me doing that in other lives. and that this was the moment to do it again. But it was very scary. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm curious how it would taste. So I just started with just my finger and with one droplet, and I was just tasting it, and I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. And I did that a few times. And I was like, okay, the morning urine is quite intense, so let me just do the other urines. And I gradually increased the amount of urine that I drank. So yeah, that was how I started. And there was a time that I think it was very hard for me to drink my urine. So I am also constantly feeling what is um, appropriate and good for me in that moment. If it is maybe one sip or a whole glass. Um, yeah. So how is that for you? Are you just drinking it all? Are you drinking it every time you pee, or how do you do it?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, and that's a question a lot of people have too. Like, how do you do it? Well, this is the most intuitive practice you could ever get into. I mean, it's not the same from one day to the next for me. And,
No.
and and I do exactly like what you're describing. Like, what do I need? What do I want? How does it feel? And it's everything is a diagnostic, like everything can help you understand yourself better. Like, am I feeling like resistance, or I don't want to, or am I feeling like really drawn, really
Yeah.
attracted, really comforted? It just changes depending on what the moment is, because that's how your urine is. I mean, or shivambu, right? There are many names for this. Some people call it plasma because it is your blood plasma
Yeah.
filtered through your kidneys, right? So, it is different from moment to moment too. I mean, when you urinate, that is the holographic picture of you at that moment, and you're changing constantly. And in its wisdom, it is adjusting and balancing you at every moment. And so, it's not surprising that it would be that it would be a practice that constantly changes. That's how it is for me now. I mean, when I first started, I went into looping. When I like started in earnest, and I was like, I'm committed to this. I need this. I don't even know why. I don't even know what it's about. But I'm gonna just do go, go, go. I was looping. I looped for about 6 months, meaning I drank everything that my body created until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day for 6 months. And it was like cascading revelations
Hmm.
every single day. I had so much emotional release. I had so much perceptual shift in the way I saw reality. I started seeing things I'd never seen before. I started understanding and remembering things. And I mean, it was shocking, and I actually made a video journal, a personal video journal of it for myself, because I just knew I was going through something profound, and that, eventually my mind was going to kind of forget about that part of it. And so I made a video like log of everything I was going
Mm.
through for that 6 month period, because it was so striking and so profound.
Wow.
It's different for everybody, but I haven't ever spoken to anybody who didn't feel like there was some other kind of invisible mystical dimension to this practice that they also experience in conjunction with the physical benefits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when I started, I was like, oh, the people that I know who do this look very young. And like that was my goal, like looking young as well. Not that I'm looking very old, but since I'm a mom, I have more wrinkles and I'm more tired. And I was like, I want to look young. And now that's totally like it's so not relevant anymore because it gave me so much more on a deeper level that yeah, looking young isn't important at all.
Wow, I that's such a fascinating area of discussion. I'd like to open that up because
Okay.
I used to. There's still a part of me that is vain, for sure. Like getting older is can be harder for women, especially. And I was an actress for 25 years. I was in a business where it's very much, there's a lot of attention on how you look.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's a challenge to stay balanced in that. I mean, I think I've healed so much of that, but there is still a part of me. And then I started wondering, well, is it all vanity, or is it this knowing? Like, I feel like there's an inner knowing that we are, that we human beings, our potential is to live longer, to live healthier, uh, but we have been in an accelerated process of toxic attack, basically, and
Yeah.
poisoning from all these different vectors. So, you know, um, there's nothing wrong with wanting to, just as we want to, develop our full potential as human beings, our full creative potential, our full potential in relationships and love, our full potential in our creative expression, all of that. It's our spiritual potential too. And there's a
Yeah. And
connection.
physical as well.
Say it again.
Physical as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and biological, and like, so much about us has been suppressed and manipulated and interfered with, down to our DNA,
Yeah.
that I think there's this part of us that remembers what it was like before we got so so interfered with, I guess, and
Hmm.
there's a part of me that remembers, like, my original blueprint,
Hmm.
as a human,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily this life, but like the human blueprint and the divinity
Yeah.
of that blueprint, and what we're here to do as humans with that blueprint, and why it's been so suppressed and messed with, right? So I think that there's this part of me that, anyways, like, through the plasma, through ingesting and recycling the plasma, I can reconnect with that original human template too, and
Hmm.
I'm not the
Yeah.
only one who says that or
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Very, very much so. And I feel that even deeper with the evolved urine. And just a few weeks ago, for the very first time, I used my evolved urine in a bath.
Yes.
And we haven't talked about evolved urine during this week, but this is something that comes up now. And what I do with my urine is put it into a jar and place it into the sun and let it evolve. And it was so very little that was in the bath because all the water was evaporated. Evaporated, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So it was almost like a thick, yeah, it was very thick, and I was like, yeah, I cannot do anything with it, so let's just put it into my bath. And it was so, um, it was like I was in my own love bubble, and I was completely connected to myself in a way that I haven't experienced before, or after. But in that moment, and I was on this love high for 2 days. It was, yeah. So I felt in that moment that my truest self and the truest human version of myself, and just be totally connected to me, and nothing else mattered. Yeah, it was very beautiful. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah,
I've used urine in the bath before, but only fresh, not evolved. So that is something I'm definitely, note to self, going to try that practice. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, but you think about it, it's like bath salts, right? I mean, because
yeah,
the crystals that form and everything when you allow the urine to evolve. And if anybody who's listening is like, what are they talking about? Well, there is a process by which you allow your urine to evolve over time, and it transforms. It's alive. I mean, that's the
yeah,
amazing thing, right? It's alive, and if a average sample of fresh urine contains maybe 150 stem cells of your stem cells, if you let it evolve even for 2 weeks, those stem cells will multiply into the hundreds of millions. Um, we really have everything we need, guys. I mean, not to mention the fact that what Sibel wanted in your videos this week, at one point you talked about how everybody has had the experience of drinking their own urine
Yes.
because that's what the amniotic fluid is made out of, in large percentage, is first the urine of the mother, right? And then once the kidneys of the fetus develop, its own urine, right? So that is what you are bathing in for 9 months in the womb. And actually, the fetus cannot develop properly without that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is like, rejecting your own urine is like rejecting your own development, rejecting your mother, rejecting yourself, rejecting the nurturing that you would not be here without. So
Yeah.
these reactions that some of the, I mean, I have to say overall, in the comments, it was pretty tame for me this week, but there were people who, said things that weren't very kind, which is okay. But what we're trying to do is not just shock people. It's not, it's like, it's inform people like, hey,
Yeah.
because the reaction is for some people so strong and so immediate, and it's just reactive, and there's actually no thinking involved for them.
No.
They're
No.
just spitting out their programming, right? And so you question that programming, and when somebody just responds with the same program, you're like, did you listen to anything that was said here? Did you, are you using your mind to think a little bit? Can you think for yourself, or are you just completely stuck in programming and disgust? I mean,
Yeah. 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 And definitely the first video that I made that went viral was just programming, 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 programming. It was all comments like that. Yeah.
yeah. How did it feel to see that, to witness that, to receive all of that energy coming at you?
It was quite a big field to hold. And it really depended on the day, how I felt about it. At some days I was like, funny to just watch how people feel about themselves, projecting that to me. And other days I was very much questioning myself and whether I maybe see it wrong, or at some point I texted you like, okay, now it's getting quite intense. So am I crazy, or what are we doing here? So it's interesting,
Yeah.
like just holding that space in which people feel entitled to throw anything at you just because you want to inform. Um, yeah, it's intense. But
Wow.
it really helped me to see, okay, the programming is so strong at this moment. There is an opportunity for us to really inform people more about this.
Yeah.
So that's how the Appreciation Week was created.
Exactly. That's why we're
Yeah,
doing it in the
yeah,
first place.
yeah.
Right. And like you said, right, it's not about trying to convince anybody to drink their urine. If you feel
No,
the call to do it, you'll do it, with or
yeah,
without us.
yeah,
You'll find some way that it'll happen. But and some people will never ever do it, and that's fine too, right? But it's not about convincing anybody of anything. It is about stirring up this programming and this very rigid mindset that people
yeah,
have, which we were able to observe firsthand. Because to me, this is connected to a much, much bigger issue, which is, are people going to be able to think for themselves? Because with what we are
mm,
facing now, with what we are going through, with the, people have to choose their destiny now more than ever. If they're going to allow themselves to be totally subsumed by their programming and absorbed by the machine, the AI and the hive mind and all of that, that is one path. Or are you going to think for yourself as a free human being and remain a real organic human being,
yeah,
and continue your evolution in that direction? And then we're at a choice point there. And I see this topic as one that is really like it really
yeah,
crashes into
Yeah,
our programming and our programmed self-disgust and self-loathing,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
what they're counting on, right? To manipulate thousands and thousands and thousands of people, with low
Yeah,
self-esteem.
yeah. And I think we are hitting the core reason for the programming, for us to forget how powerful we are and how abundant we are. And not only we as humans, but also the planet.
Yes.
And just a week ago, I was for work at some kind of conference, and there was like one theme that we would talk about in a little small group, and like the almost the title of that topic was, okay, how are we going to help students deal with the limited resources of the earth? And I was like, I, I cannot talk about this because the earth is abundant. And I just, I cannot. I'm, I was the first to speak up, and I was like, I cannot contribute to this because I fundamentally don't agree with the statement. The earth isn't lacking anything. And then there was someone else from the group who said, yeah, but how about electricity? Do you really think that we can all power our electric cars? And I was like, okay, I don't think you guys are ready for me sharing that a liter of urine can provide enough energy for a household for a half a day. So I was like, yeah, I am convinced. But yeah, I think this is the core reason for all the programming we have to forget that we are so powerful and so abundant and so fully complete by ourselves.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, you're right. This is at the root of all programming, isn't it?
yeah,
Right? Because I mean, the real question for that conference is how do we help students deal with the consciousness of limitation that is imposed on them and
yeah,
on all of
yeah,
us,
yeah,
right? And people don't realize until you start to see a much bigger picture of how the world is constructed and engineered, you don't realize that you think that these are problems that are endemic to the earth, as if source could create a situation of limitation. That is an imposed consciousness that comes from the outside and
yeah,
has been used for millions of years to extract resources from this planet and to extract resources from the inhabitants of the planet in the form of energy and loosh. So, we really need to wake up to and remember the truth, which is that we are totally self-sourcing. And that is one of the things, that other thing that like was a huge healing for me when I started urine therapy was there was always more. I could drink as no matter how much I drank, there was always more, more, more. And the more I
yeah,
drank, the more there was. I was
yeah,
like, I can't believe this. And I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, I am endlessly abundant. My body
yeah,
is giving me feedback all the time. I've got medicine for anything I want, and I'm not making any medical claims. I'm just saying, like I kept having this image of the fountain, right? Like a
yeah,
fountain of energy coming from within myself. And I realize I'm like, oh, it's so not true what they have told us and convinced us, that we don't have enough, that our
yeah,
resources are limited, that our abundance is limited, that the earth is no, absolutely not. And it's time to break that
yeah,
programming.
yes,
It's not
yes,
true. If anybody who practices urine therapy for 3 days, they start to realize, oh my gosh, I have everything I
yeah,
need.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well, I wrote down some questions that came up during the week, and
yeah,
I thought we could address. And anybody who's watching, you guys feel free. Don't be shy. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have while we're here too. One of the questions that kept coming up was about taste. Like, what does it taste
mm,
like? How do you get around that? Blah blah blah. and kind of practical questions around, well, like,
Yeah.
how do you manage it and all of that stuff. Did you get questions about taste too, Sibel?
Not really about taste, but more about the smell.
Hmm?
So it's linked to it, and especially if you drink it, if other people would smell it when you would talk. Um, and what is your experience on taste and smell?
Well, my experience is that, well, first of all, taste is constantly changing because it depends on what you're eating and drinking. It depends
Yeah,
on, what time of the day it is, how hydrated you are. And so sometimes it's, darker in color. Sometimes it's lighter in color. Sometimes it tastes really intense. Sometimes it tastes really, I mean, the first time I did a practice urine therapy, before I was, drinking every day, drinking it every day, I would just drink while I was fasting or doing
hmm,
like a juice cleanse or something. And first time I was like really blown away was doing, I was just eating fruit. It was hot and I was just eating fruit and drinking water. And the urine was like, it tasted floral. It was incredible. I was
yeah,
like, wow. It tasted like I don't know, yeah, like flowers, like,
yeah.
delicate, beautiful. And I couldn't, I was like, wow, this is just,
Very soft.
yes,
Yeah,
soft. And like the way that it made me feel too was like, it's indescribable. It made me feel tender towards myself,
yeah,
and just beautiful. There was something so beautiful about it, right?
yeah,
And then, you can go out and have dinner at a restaurant with friends and have a glass of wine and drink coffee and stuff like that. And the next day you're like,
yeah. Oh,
okay, okay.
well, thank you, feedback loop.
But it makes you very aware, right? Because sometimes
Yeah,
you're like, I don't think I'm going to eat this because it's going to make my bee taste gross.
yeah,
So, I mean, it changes all the time.
yeah,
It's such a barometer of everything that's going on in your whole system.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and like as far as the smell is concerned, I put it all over my body every day, and I've not heard anybody be like, "Ugh, you smell like pee." And if I've told somebody close to me, that I like I told my sister-in-law one time that I was doing her, and then she was like, okay, and I said I use it on my body. She's like, oh, but doesn't it smell? I said, well, come here and smell me. She put her nose right up on me. She was like, she's like, no, I don't think I'd smell anything. I said, no, you don't, you're
No,
just paranoid now. Right. But yeah, I mean, I use it on my skin every day. um Mostly people tell me I smell good. I don't know.
yeah,
So
and also the fresh urine is, yeah, you don't really smell
mm-mm.
fresh urine.
No, it just
Yeah,
evaporates, once
yeah,
it's on your skin, it evaporates. And I mean, what you need goes in you. I really feel like it's like an energetic protection as well. I feel
mhm,
real, like, especially if I'm going to go into public places or airports or any place like that, I'm like, put it
mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have quite dry skin on my hands, and so I'm almost every day using my urine to hydrate my hands, and I really feel a difference in the hydration of my skin.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, okay, let me see. Another question I got was, around, are you crazy? I am shocked. I
Yeah.
am shocked that you would do such a, this is dangerous, right?
Yeah,
Right.
dangerous.
The
Yes.
belief that it's dangerous, the belief
Yes.
that it's toxic.
Or the risks, or you shouldn't do it when you are using medicine and things like that. Danger. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
heard that as well.
how do you respond to that, Sibel?
For now, I didn't, but it just doesn't resonate with me, and I don't want to make any medical claims about you can drink your urine while you're also using a medication. But I just feel that the information in your urine is so much more valuable and beneficial to you compared to the dangers of certain bacteria or the medication or things like that, that I would drink it as well, even when I would use medication. But that's my personal feeling. I don't have any resources on that. But just knowing that, like, that the urine is already filtered blood plasma. So if there is anything in there, it's already made weaker or smaller. So if we take it back, then it's almost like a vaccine for ourselves, right? To instead of putting into our arms, we are drinking it and giving feedback. Okay, yes, so we have this weakened bacteria or weakened virus or anything. And now you can create your antibodies more efficient because you have weakened things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yes, I totally hear
something
what
like
you're
that.
expressing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, and well, if you think about the sort of um stories that you hear, you know, what people tend to remember who remember older people in their lives, like grandparents who practiced or who used urine in some way or other, they remember stories like, you know, putting it on topically for jellyfish stings and, you know, insect bites and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the stories that I have heard is that, you know, if you were bitten by a snake, within 15 seconds, your body has produced the antibody to the venom, right? So the smartest thing you can do is pee if you can,
Mm-hmm.
and drink your pee and then put it on the bite because it's going to contain already
Already.
exactly
Yeah.
what is needed to counteract the effects of it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, I've never heard, and I've talked to many people who've practiced urine therapy for far longer than I have. Um, Nobody has a story, a negative story, not one negative story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are, and these are people who are working with people, guiding them, you know, through
Mm-hmm.
urine therapy practice. And my friend Megan, who is, you know, bona fide independent researcher on urine for Global Healing Institute, you know, she's working with a lot of resources now. She's actually doing the kind of research that that hasn't really been done yet because there has been no funding, obviously,
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
kind of research because it doesn't benefit the drug companies who want to keep you sick and want to keep you taking their drugs and spending
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money
Yeah.
on it. You know, coupled with the insurance scam that is just a scam, right? And all of this whole matrix of engineered ill health comes tumbling down when you realize that, well, you don't need any of that stuff. You
Yeah.
just don't need
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
And so there, that's why you can understand, like, no real scientific studies have been funded, you know, that everything that we have is just people talking about their own experience, which is incredibly valuable, of course, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that is used as a way to poo-poo it, like, well, you know, where are the studies? And well, there are some studies, you know, and now there are going to be more and more and more. It's
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
right? But it has to come from a place of actually caring about people, caring about human beings, caring about health, right? And not being financially motivated,
Yeah.
motivated by
Yeah.
profit. You know, I mean, that's a completely different paradigm. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have never heard a single negative story in all of my years now of talking to people who practice urine therapy and who help hundreds of other people. And those people are connected to thousands of people. Not a single negative story. So
Yeah. Yeah.
even though there are, you know, sometimes a Herxheimer reaction, right, like a detox reaction, like
Mm-hmm.
when I started like committing to the practice and drinking every day, within a couple of days I got a cold, right, like my head just
Mm-hmm.
filled up, and but I couldn't have been happier. I was like, I know my body's detoxing, it's
Mm-hmm.
taking out the
Yeah.
trash, and I'm
Yeah.
going to let it do that. You know, it lasted a week, it was, you know, not a big deal, but I've never been so happy to have a cold because I knew that it was the real
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, dangers. I don't think there are,
I mean,
right?
I've never heard it. There
No.
are also cases of, people always like, well, can I drink my urine if this? Can I drink my urine if that? Well, I mean, again, it's like you said, it's intuitive and it's up to you. It's your decision, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it teaches you how to use it. So um, you can trust yourself, right? And you can make your adjustments accordingly. And
Yeah.
um, you know, we're not making any claims. That's the other
Just
thing is,
our experience. Yeah.
yeah, 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 just our experience, right?
Yeah.
Um, Looking at the other questions that
I
came in.
had
Go
a
ahead.
couple of people who asked, okay, well, kind of I'm kind of following you in the information on urine, but what about poop? So are you going to eat that as well? Are you going to eat your poop? Yeah. How do you think about, or like the disgust of yourself? So yeah, well, I don't know. Did you have any of those questions, like poop question?
No, that didn't come up specifically, but but I do find that, and I made a video about this. About the fact that people, just put urine and poop together as like one rejected toxic product coming out of your
Right.
body. And
Yeah.
first of all, if you just use your common sense, you will realize that urine is a product of the renal filtration system. That's your kidneys. It's not the digestive system. Those are two different
Mhm.
bodily systems. Okay. Um, the other thing, though, and I remember back in February, I think I was on a big urine therapy conference. There were thousands of people there
Mm.
on Zoom, and David Avocado Wolf was one of the speakers, and he was saying at one point, he said, everything that comes out of the human body is sacred and holy and good for the earth. And that has just resonated through me like a bell for months and months. I've been I know that this is true, but it keeps coming back because again, it heals this notion that we have that our that we're disgusting and our waste is disgusting and it has to be controlled through pipes and sewers and all kinds of actually unnatural infrastructure that if you live simply on the earth, you recycle all your waste and it all serves a purpose. It
Yeah.
serves a purpose in the gardens, and we have just been totally, quote unquote, civilized out of that, and been taught to separate ourselves from waste and find it disgusting. Well, we know very well that poop is used as fertilizer, always has been, animal poop, and human poop can do the same. And
Yeah.
menstrual blood
Yeah.
is not disgusting, and urine is not disgusting. And these are coming from different systems in the body. But
Yeah.
the prime creative intelligence of this universe did not make any mistakes. Um, and design something that that wasn't intelligent,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. And
wasn't
also,
ruled by intelligence.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's alive and it's always looking for the best possible outcome. Always looking for balance.
Yes.
And also just thinking about how the gut bacteria or the poop of someone who has a really good gut bacteria flora can be implemented into another person to help them grow a good gut flora or bacteria.
Yeah.
Like we can even use each other's poop to have benefits.
Yeah.
So, well, actually consuming poop I don't know if I can or would, but it doesn't mean that I think it's disgusting, because I really see the value of our poop in giving back to the earth,
Yeah.
and if needed, giving to another person. Um, yeah, it isn't, in that sense, it doesn't feel like waste, even though we cannot really work with it in our civilization. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I think the point you're also making here is that, and is what I want to highlight is that again, this is not about whether you choose to practice something that is seems to you fringe or far out or what. It is like what happens inside you. What is your reaction when you see somebody
yeah,
else is doing this? You know, like do you have so little space inside yourself that you have to lash out at the person, tell them they're disgusting, stupid, crazy, whatever? Like, you know, check yourself, dude. I mean, if that is how you're responding in life, that says a lot more about you than it says about anything else, right?
yeah, yeah,
So can you just observe what you know somebody else is sharing or somebody else is living, and let them be them. And you know, it doesn't have to be a problem.
yeah,
It doesn't have to
exactly.
be. So yeah, I mean, we're really pointing back again, we're coming back to the same theme of like breaking conditioning and being aware of our reactivity and our tendency to judge ourselves and other people, right? And that goes back to this self-loathing that we've been referencing, you
Yeah,
know, and which is at the core of our programming as human beings, which is why it's been so easy to manipulate us and tell us that we're bad, sinful, wrong, and we need to be forgiven, and we need to give our energy out and worship things so that we can, you know, somehow finally be legitimized and be okay. This is not going to work, guys.
no, you will never ever earn enough points. Yeah.
It cut out for a second there, Sibel. What did you say? You will
Oh,
never ever?
earn enough points,
That's right.
right?
For the
Yeah,
for the false god to forgive
yeah,
you enough for
yeah,
you to be okay. It ain't gonna
yeah.
happen that way.
No,
You've got to go
no,
within.
exactly.
Yeah.
Did you
Um,
have another question?
did I have another question? Oh yeah, that I wrote down here. Let's see. Reactions, taste, practical questions. Why people are drawn to it. Historical use. Emotional healing, self love, body sovereignty. A lot of this we've covered already.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth mentioning historical use again, right? This is like a thousands and thousands of year old therapy. You can find references to it in very ancient texts. And, you know, and in cultures too, different cultures, right?
Yeah.
Like in India, you can still buy cow urine in the
Mhm.
store in pill form because they love cows and they think of cows as being sacred. So what could be
Mhm.
more sacred than the urine of a cow? You know, and you can buy it in the drugstore and take it in capsules to, you know, as medicine.
Yeah.
So, you know, people will disparage an entire culture without realizing it, you know, with their assumptions that they haven't actually even looked into or studied, and certainly haven't tried for themselves.
Yeah.
It's striking, you know. I mean, sometimes the programming that you face with people, and it's like I don't want to hear any different. You know, it's like a robot.
Oh,
So yeah, I think it's important to at least attempt to open somebody's mind. It, you know, again, not to impose yourself on anybody, but you know, if you're in a situation where you're confronted with somebody's emotional reaction, or you know, to you and to
yeah.
the way that you live, you know, it's the human thing to do to open it up. You know,
Yeah.
to
And be
to
curious about what the other person has to share.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean if you're curious that you will have to do the same. but just to be open to what the other person is experiencing and want to share. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, how can you expect, people say there's too much, there's war in the world, there's conflict, that humans are terrible and blah, 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 and yet, they're very quick to judge other people. And if you don't have any internal space, and how can you expect the world to be a peaceful place?
Yeah.
If you get reactive when come across somebody else's way of life, somebody else's way of doing things, and you feel compelled to judge it. I mean, it's like I said in one of my videos this week, I said, when you point the finger at somebody else, remember you got three pointing back at you. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a simple little dictum, but it's true. I
It
always
is
try to
true.
remember that.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah. So when there is someone watching and thinking, okay, maybe I want to try to start, what do you recommend?
Well, I recommend listening to that impulse, first of all, and starting slow. Unless you don't want to, right? Some people
Yeah.
are just like, I'm going to go for it, right? And again, they're guided by their own internal, direction of how to do it. And so, I mean, I would never, be rigid about how to help somebody. I mean, I would just, introduce what I always say, which is, look, start slow. If you're really having a disgust reaction, then just try after the next time you pee, like, allow a little bit of urine to be on your fingers and just rub it into your hand and notice that you didn't die and everything is fine. I mean, there's that other conditioning, like, oh, you went to the bathroom, you peed, you better wash your hands.
Wash
That
your
is
hands. Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? No, afterwards I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
rub it on my hands. Good. Now I'm clean. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like the opposite. It's the
Yeah.
opposite. So I would say, start that way. You use a little bit on your skin, just a drop, and then see where it goes from there. Or like put some in a glass and take a little drop and put it under your tongue and see if you survive that. If there's a real objection, then that's how you sort of get your body used to it over time. And your body will do something with one drop. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
amazing. You can also dilute it with water. You can dilute it with juice. For a long time, that's what I did. I put my urine in juice because I just had a real disgust factor with myself.
Mhm.
I don't do that anymore, but that's how I started for a while until I was ready. So, but that's just me, right? Somebody else can start totally differently, and many people do. And I mean, I've heard beautiful stories. I helped a woman in France begin a practice. I've helped several women in France begin practices, and to see the ripple effect that it has on their lives in a positive way. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, what practice is pretty incredible. Like, you know, I don't want to get into particular, cases, but like this one woman was telling me about how a memory came back to her of being shamed as a
Mm.
child after she
Mm.
started urine therapy. And she realized that, she had learned at that young age to be ashamed of her
Mm.
body, to be ashamed of her natural functions, because somebody caught her peeing outside as a child and, reprimanded her. And, she carried that shame her whole life.
Yeah.
She's in her
Yeah.
70s now,
Yeah.
and she's like, I just, it came back to me and I realized I've carried that my whole life, that
Yeah.
shame of my natural functions, and she just, and, we had maybe 3 sessions together and then she just flew off on her own. I mean, she didn't need any guidance anymore. She was guided by herself,
Yeah.
and
Beautiful.
I've seen that over and over again.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. So you start, I mean, I created a quick start guide that is free on my website. If anybody wants to go to the resources page on my website, you'll find it there. It's called your waters, your sacred waters quick start guide. And it'll just, you know, get you going. But again, it's natural. You know, there are certain
Yeah.
things that are natural to us. We've just forgotten because we've been so conditioned.
Yeah. And as soon as we start, even if it's one drop or even if it's just on your skin, your body remembers and is really working with you instead of, yeah, I don't know, it's always working for us. But as soon as we also participate, it's working with us. I think that's the difference. We are consciously participating as well.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah, it's
It's like the
always working for us.
observer. It's like the observer experiment, you know,
Yeah,
with the electrons,
yeah, yeah,
you know? Yeah, you're right. Like as soon as you consciously participate, well, and we saw that I interviewed Fiona Gardner on in the Grace
yeah.
Space. Amazing interview where she showed
Amazing.
her images under the
Yes,
microscope, right? So
yeah,
anybody who is not familiar with Fiona, her Instagram channel is called Messages in Plasma. She's a microscopist and a researcher, and she takes photographs of urine under the microscope, and it will blow your mind, the intelligence. It's incredible. She also discovered that the urine stays connected to you after it leaves your body, and it knows what's going on in your body even after
yeah.
it has left you. Like mind blown. Totally.
Even months later, right?
Even months later. That's
It's
right.
just connected. Yeah,
It, I mean, listen to that interview, guys, because I won't, I don't want to steal the thunder from that interview. It
no,
was amazing.
no.
But it's what Sibel is saying here. You know, she's saying like when you become a conscious participant, actually your body knows, right? Your urine knows. And she has, and Fiona has photographed under the microscope the difference between in people's urine before they begin drinking and after they begin drinking. And one time, like one sip, then she will photograph it, look at it under the microscope again, and now it has organized itself into beautiful crystals and symbolic images. And like, you just can't believe it. You're like, wow, that incredible intelligence is in drop, one drop,
Yes,
and people call it piss.
yeah.
People
Wait,
disparage it. Yeah,
yeah,
waste, toxic. Man, again, that's what I care about, is that, you know, is not about drinking your urine. It is about like, what are you making? You're making assumptions
yeah,
about something you
yeah,
don't understand. And you are assuming that you are just a, you know, an empty, meaningless animal who, you know, pisses and shits all over the planet and is bad. That's
yeah,
basically
yeah,
the, you know,
yeah,
that's the underlying belief.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
just on the intelligence of your urine. I experienced a few days ago that even though I drank exactly the same in the morning as I always do, um, I was like drinking or urinating more and drinking more of my urine as well during that day, because in that day I felt like I had to let go of things, and it was so connected to the way that I urinated. And for example, today I was very much um, like connected to myself and staying within. So it wasn't as frequent as yesterday or a few days ago. So it's really connected to how you feel, what is needed for your body at that moment.
yeah,
Or
your
that is
body.
my experience.
Yeah, me too. I totally resonate with that, you know, and not just connected to our bodies, but to our emotional state, you
Yes,
know.
it's really intelligence.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's a mirror, you know, it is a divine mirror that shows like, you know, sometimes I've noticed like if I'm angry about something or feeling resentful or bitter, you know, anything like that, like those bitter emotions, I can taste them.
yeah, yeah,
I can
yeah,
taste it in the urine, you know.
yeah.
It is just amazing. So, I think it's like about moving from one paradigm of conflict and opposition with your body, which is how we've been
Mhm.
trained, right? To think of the body as a machine that is going to betray you at any moment, and it has to be like brought into control and, intervened with, all of that model, right? Into the true model, the truth, which is no, the body's incredibly intelligent. It's always restoring balance. It's your friend. It's working with you. And if we just get out of the way and stop
Yeah,
poisoning it and stop, making things harder, then it just naturally heals itself. That's what it's
yeah,
designed to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Any last observations or questions that are coming to mind for you?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was a beautiful week with a lot of information, a lot of curiosity and openness for all the people that could receive us and all the information we shared. I think that's very beautiful
Yeah.
because there were many people who could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there were. That's what we haven't
yeah,
really talked about, true,
yeah,
like all the people who were already there,
yeah,
either they already practice or they're open and curious and, there. Was a lot of that too.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
always heartening.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I
would you do
hope,
it again?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
We'll see, where we go with it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's good if people have questions to just reach out
Yeah.
and let us know. Just send us a message and go to your website if they want to start or restarting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do already have people who contact me privately with
Oh,
questions.
good.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm totally open to that. And I mean, people can contact you and you can share your experience too.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
it's not about, calling yourself an expert on something. It's just about sharing your experience with something, which is,
yeah,
how we all help each other anyway. So,
yeah, yeah.
well, thanks for taking the time today. Thanks for all who joined us, for taking the time to listen today, for your openness and yeah, just being here with your curiosity is it's important. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank
Mhm.
you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Catalina.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you, Sibel, for
Thank you.
your courage and your steadfastness through a week where you got a lot of energy thrown at you. And um, yeah, I think that's challenging, but the best thing we can do is just be like authentic about the experience ourselves. So.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And you too. Thank you for joining me in my wild idea of this week.
It was
It's,
super fun. It was super
yeah,
fun. You and I we'll debrief and
yeah,
and see what else comes to mind.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, lots of
Okay.
love to you and lots of love to
Bye bye.
everybody. And see you soon. Bye bye.